everybody. Yes, it's me. Who else would be playing these kind of weird, moody chords, right? So welcome. We're playing with a new library. Probably make a bonus patch or two for this library today. Hey, Todd left. Dude, that was an incredible comment. Thank you for your feedback on the on the video for this. That was really cool. Hello, welcome. So this is string theory. I didn't put artwork for this. Shoot, well, I have to do that. We won't do that right now, but I plan to make a little update. I'll add some extra patches to this because it's such a fun library. In fact, I have a download already for you guys for today for this library. Bob Daddies did a demo. Bob Daddies did a demo. Bob Daddies did a demo. Yeah. And he did a kind of unique demo for this library. So we'll be showing that at some point too today because it's a free download. It's actually a demo that he wrote and then put into Unify so you guys can play it. It's kind of cool and creative, fun way to do things. Hello everybody. I see lots of happy names here. Hey Ives, Alchemist, Eric, Kisaka, arigatou gozaimashita, domo. Ohayo gozaimasu. Ivar, Ken, Ron, Todd, Bright Band, Greg, Todd, Shane, of course. Hello, Shane, brother Shane. I just had to buy this. It's so warm. Oh, good. Thank you, Richard. Yeah. It's a very fun library. This is string theory. I'll give you the rundown real quick. If you haven't seen the introductory video or heard about this, it is a library that essentially is a Kumar orchestrator. Like, in fact, here, I don't have it plugged in, but I can get it plugged in here. Oh, no. All the way over there. And then I can go to Logic. Where's Logic? And I need to add one more input. Set it to input 1. And there. Kumar Orchestrator. Let's see if I can get the camera to come over there. Let's go to OBS so I can see what I'm doing. Check this out. Here is that's my coffee drink, Orchestrator. Let's see if I zoom in like this. Here, we'll go full screen so you can see the full screen wiggly camera. So let's go webcam only. There. Orchestrator. And it has the presets are up here. You turn them on and off by pushing buttons. So if I want the piano, and it's a lower and upper. So there's buttons and switches for the right hand and for the left hand. So you could have piano and strings. So I could. You can do things like that. So I actually, that's scary. Back that up, get that like that. Hello. Go back here. It's one of those things where I don't have quite the interface to make it like a preset. I could have made presets where it only played one half of the keyboard. I didn't do that, but if you look in the patches, you'll see it split. So if I wanted to, I could say, hold down Option and delete those that are for the right hand, right? And now have one sound and then have another sound loaded as a Unify layer by just right-clicking it and say load into Unify layer. You could make splits and so forth. What I did do when we get to the Krumar patches, like the violins and cellos and stuff, I did give you so that you have control. I think it's on the 3rd page or the 2nd page. Left keyboard volume, right keyboard volume. So you have the ability you could have the left hand louder or brighter. And like I said, if I wanted, I could get rid of, say, the left hand. And then let's make this split here match up here with G#3 by just right click and drag in the key ranges. And then I could go down here to, well, I did piano a minute ago, right? So I could say piano, load into Unify layer. Now this is going to load it as a Unify layer. So all I have to do is right click at the top bar and drag to control the key range. And so you could make splits pretty easily if you needed to do so of these patches. But I went through and sampled all of the different presets of my Krumar, both in mono, but I did 2 passes. So if you open these up, you'll see that it says RR, Railroad. No, it's Round Robin, and it should be RRR, but I didn't want to go too crazy on the R's. But it's the 2 passes, so it's very subtle. But there are 2 samples that it's cycling between randomly. And it has the ringing out of the notes afterwards, which is a separate layer of samples, which you could remove. And now it sounds like everybody else's Krumar. Because no other library I know of has a separate layer. And you can control the filter cutoff for the note off layer, which is unique, and the release time. Because there's a thing, they call it length over here. Here it is at its shortest, and it still softly rings out forever in the background. You hear that? But if you set length all the way up, it just rings forever. So having the separate layer of note off samples, so you can re-simulate that in a software plugin, is kind of fun. I don't know anybody else that has done that with this instrument. So one of those unique things, I did this to all of the different instruments. The brass, it has a brass section, which is actually an analog sawtooth waveform. Again, the unique thing with the Krumar, this is in an era before polyphonic synthesizers. This is before the Prophet 5. And so it was a synthesizer with a filter, but it was like an overlord of controls, to each note having its own hardware dedicated just to that note. So if I'm going to turn it down soft, but I can play every note at once. It's every note available to play. So if I go over here and call out the brass. Let's see here, brass. And notice the filter is mono. So I can't quite simulate that in software, so I didn't want to. So it could sound like a really nice sawtooth, you know. So I recreated that type of a vibe as far as to like the resonant, that's kind of a resonant fast like this. So the bright closed is so it's that same vibe. So I started with that, and I wanted, when making a library and making it for all of you guys, I don't know what you guys are all into. And there's only a select handful that are going to be like really into just an accurate, best Kumar library I've ever heard, right? Not a lot of you are going to be into that. So I wanted to expand this library into other colors and other options. And I'm really happy how it turned out. To start with, I was like, well, let's try making some granular versions. So I took the Kumar samples, ran them through fragments, ran them through outputs, granular engine, through other granular engines, and created some really cool, skippy pads. Right? And then if you layer this with the Kumar, just go to one of the Kumar patches and say right click, load in a new Unify layer, turn it down a little bit, and then open up that Unify layer and go to the macro knobs, and you can change the note on attack to be slower. So you can sweeten it and add it in there. Right? So I made a number. I think 7 total different granular patches, where it's like spitting out pieces of notes and stuff like that. And that was cool. And I was like, well, I think I need more. I want more to play with. So I called up ES2 inside of Logic, and there's a really great patch. I modified it a little bit to get it to be even sweeter to what I was wanting it to be. And what's nice with this is if you go to the filter, gotta open this up. It gets that really cool Roland Juno kind of a vibe. Just this really thick soup kind of a pad. I made another pad which was more like, the Kumar has an octave in it, so this is without octaves. It's got a bit of a vintage vibe to it. And so then I put a question on Facebook into the Unify Power Users group about what are some of your favorite synth string pads from songs? And I got crazy number of replies. And so I went through and I've nailed down a whole bunch of different string pads from everywhere from Flashlight I can't play the funk lines. The graphics for this is cool for showing the funky vibe. If you get to the give up the funk. Got some sort of a funky keyboard somebody's been working on in there. These are mid-journey images that are kind of fun. Oxygen for those of you that are into the French vibe. Now you can put that into pop and all that kind of stuff. Cars, this is from the classic Gary Newman. Even like Bittersweet Symphony. So all sorts of variations on strings. Beyond Kumar. So you have all sorts of different variations on, it's alive. My love is alive. I can't sing, but you get the idea. Melatonin, Midnight for that really cool octave flanger. And I even made a BPM split for this one here. If we go here to the BPM splits with the drums, because I also sampled some vintage drums, the Korg mini pops and stuff like that. So if you go down here to Midnight Chase, and the Mach wheel lets you go between just the bass, so you can play your own bass line, but if you move the mod wheel up just a little bit, you get just the bass sequence. Oh, I need to get the Logic's not showing you what's going on, so let's go over here. If I bring the mod wheel up a little bit more, get the kick. So you get that the fun kind of stuff to play with. So I took it to a whole bunch of other places, and so you guys are really responding with some really positive feedback. So thank you. I'm glad you guys like it. The stereo string versions are really fun because I took those round robin samples and I panned them left and right. So you can take any of these guys from mono, which is what it sounds like on the Kumar, but in stereo, it has a nice openness. Now the brightness, just so you know, if you right click, you can see that there's both filter settings, but there's also EQ settings. So that as you bring up this knob, see how it's kind of smooth in here. And this way to go darker. And then there's no EQ until you start going past halfway point. And then I'm adding a bit of that. A lot of times in productions, you add just a little bit of high-end, like 12K to get sizzle. And I've learned not to do that to the samples in the first place because they don't filter as well. It's not as natural. So it's something you can add in post with EQ easily. So by having it where you've got the natural, I didn't EQ it when I sampled it. I kept it very, very natural to how it sounds. Because you can always add that type of sizzle in post inside of your plugins or DAWs or whatever with EQ. So as you can see, there's 9K and 10.6K for where the high end being emphasized just a little bit as you bring up that macro knob. There's some basses because there's a bass. I love this bass that's inside the Kumar. It's just this. Be great for reggae, for pop songs. It's just that solid, perfectly filtered, tonal, dominant tone. It's got a little bit kind of unique in the attack. So I made some variations on basses. There's the Chasing Midnight. Kumar acoustic is fun because I'm using DX. I took one of the DX7, the ZZ acoustic 4 from one of the cards. I have a whole bunch of the DX7 patches, but then I modified it. So you add that to the bass and just rounds it out, right? Oxygen, this is the same bass used in the BPM split patch. Oxygen Overdose, which has on the mod wheel a very classic French drum groove that we love. And the right hand. This is the brass and strings. You can go down here and change this to be just the brass or just the strings. So it doesn't have to play that famous song that has a C minor melody and all that kind of stuff. You can play anything you want with it. And knob 2 lets you change between all 3 of the right hand parts. Or just, or it's the other one. And I have a MIDI filter on this so that I could be playing the bass and sustaining that. I have suppressing the sustain pedal. Now, if you want to have the sustain pedal where it will sustain out, you can bypass this, and that way when you play now, it will sustain, but I didn't want it to sustain when I was first playing it. So anyway, there's 115 patches. As you can see, it says right here 117. That's because there is a little bonus that I have added. Last night, Bob got me, and I'll put a link to this. I have modified this to where it's all enclosed inside a Unify. And if you own this library, you can get this demo to work. Check this out. You call up this patch. It calls up a MIDI file that is the demo song, and it organizes all of the layers for 10 different layers. So I just play one note, and we're going to Paris. Isn't that fun? And it plays and it cycles. I mean, it's still going. It's not done. It sounds like music for video game in a way, you know? It's like French video game music. And then it cycles back right there. So if you open up a MIDI box, you'll see it's playing a 22 measure demo song. And each layer is playing different parts. Right? And it actually has macro knobs set up so you can take down the parts if you want. So you can mix it in real time as you go. Now, I wanted the bass to be a little bit different. That hi-hat was a little bit too bright for me, so I did a remix version. Not quite so French. Still using the same Midjourney image I created. But both of these are available. Here, I'll give you the link. Paste. There. And I'll put this into the download the demo song here. Download. Download Bob Daddy's demo song here. So you can install this into Unify. It's a .unify file. All you have to do, let's see, let's go like this. Say, no, don't show all that stuff. Let's go over here. We go to freebies, to Unify libraries, string theory. It's just a .guru file at this point, right? So all you have to do is drag this over Unify. It will install the 2 patches. It will install the MIDI file into the right place. It will install the graphics and update the text file required to get this all to work. And then you can go into Unify, hit the little lightning bolt to refresh the library, and they'll show up at the end of the list, and go to Visit à Paris and play middle C. And off you go. And you can transpose. So you can actually use the first part of the demo as something to like build something completely different. Right? So fun stuff. Right? So that is a demo I haven't even put it on the website yet. If you want to get this library or any of the other things we've done, I should point that out. You would go to pluginguru.com. Say turn off that and log out. I'm just visiting the site right now. And here you go. Pluginguru.com. Unify 1 or 10.1.1 is available. Make sure you've updated to 10.1. Thank you to all of you that have contributed to the Shane Dunn introductory video. That has been a very nice boost for him, which is great. Some of the other libraries there. I decided I'm not going to run a Memorial Day sale. I've done so many sales on so many occasions and every weekend and stuff. So this weekend is just the new library, available at a very, very killer introductory price. It's 50% off what its retail price will be. It's available at that price until June 8th. So go there and check it out. All right. Is this available for purchase? Yeah. Just showed you at pluginguru.com. Oh yeah, BPM pad string theory. Let me show you that one. That's another one that's one of my favorites too. This is a fun one. There's a whole bunch of different BPM pads. String theory was kind of like, I don't know. I didn't originally name it string theory. I can't remember what the original name I created was, but it just kind of like put everything together in the library. It combines the bass and the drums and all the pad stuff so that you have really cool, very happy, you know. And then Mod Wheel has a hidden bass, and I'm using filtering tricks and so forth. If you look at this right here, this is the macro knob number 1. All of these different things, different intensities in different directions, filter cutoffs, things are changing on all sorts of layers to show up effects, cutoffs, volumes, master levels, resonance. That's all happening thanks to the power of Unify to change any parameter of any plugin layer on one knob. So I don't even know what the count is of how many assignments there are, but there's no limit. Most synthesizers, I was looking over a synth that I still like very much. We did a library for it, Reveal Sound Spire. You've got these killer LFOs, and you can have 2 destinations. Just 2. So, you know, that's just, such a limitation in some respects. So limitations are good in some cases. In cases like this where you have a knob and you want it to like fill out your vision, if I could only choose 2 parameters out of this list to have on the knob, I could not do what I'm doing because it's going from if you hear the kick drum, I wanted it to be where a lot of times for a lot of music production, the kick is multiple pieces. There's a high transient sample and there's a big body sample, and they're separate. And then you just bring up the volume of the body sample. Well, I'm kind of doing a similar trick, but I'm using a high pass filter. So if you go to the kick and solo this, you hear that kick in there, right? And as you bring down this mod wheel, I'm bringing down the filter cutoff. See the frequency coming down? And once it gets to a certain point, now it's the full frequency range. But it starts with just that little tick. So when you put that into the pad, there's this just little reminder of the trend. You hear the kick in there, right? Oh, Dropbox link says the item was deleted. Okay, sorry. Let's revise that. Oops. Oh, I see. Let me see here. Like that. Oh, you know why? Because I pulled it out just now. Oh my gosh. Let's see. So if I put this back in here, now your link should work again. I'll copy paste the link again. I put it on the desktop to show you, and in Dropbox land, that means that it's going to pull it out of the folder itself. I'm sorry. Try one more time. Here's the link to make sure it's the same. Yeah, it's the same. Try again. That was my bad. I pulled it out to show you guys the file and that deleted it. Yeah, there's a lot you can learn from this one. Also, the bass, if you want to check out farther, this bass patch is also, if you just solo it, it's providing a little sizzle when you first call it up. That's the sizzle, is the bass. And as you bring down the mod wheel, I bring down the sizzle. High pass filter. See, the high pass filter is just doing a little bit here. It's not taken off yet until you get to about halfway. And then radically goes away. So what I'm doing is I'm opening the filter of the synthesizer, which makes it brighter, and I'm removing the low end at the same time. That gives me the chance to make it become from a bright element that's just giving a little sizzle in the overall string pad. You just barely hear it. As you bring the mod wheel down, here, watch OBXD. See the filter cutoff here? See how the resonance is up high? That's what's making it have that extra like distorted energy. As I bring this down, then it comes to its resting point where I want it to rest for the groove. So I wanted to show you how you could do a whole music production. I mean, used to be you'd have to do automation on a whole bunch of tracks if you were to do this in your DAW. You can do it all real time inside of Unify. So off you go. You know, you can I've been a big fan of getting the mod wheel to do a whole lot of stuff. Did this a lot of the Unify or the Omnisphere patches for Omnisphere libraries. Do similar things where the mod wheel just goes from one direction to another. So it's fun to do that. Not all the patches go that far in advance, but you know, that's one of the fun things with this is now we have far more controls, so make sure you go to the macro page to play with the parameters for these different patches, because they really... This is one where I'm just simply using a triangle waveform to do filter cutoff, and I'm having it do it in a bi, which means it's going both positive direction and negative direction. So if you set this off, I have kind of a middle axis. There's two ways to look at the LFO. There's two options. One is called bilateral and the other is unilateral. And bilateral means that if you make a line, you're allowing it to go positive, and then same amount positive, it will now go negative. So by using this, I have to set the filter cutoff instead of at the resting point. I want it to be like at the middle of where the orbit will be, right? So I've got it set to this nice mid-range sound. And then as I bring up the depth, the cutoff, it's going to go up the same amount as it goes down. Now, the other way to do this, if we wanted to go to unilateral, this means that this value is the bottom. It's not going to go below that. So it allows you to control how far down into the filter you want it to scoop. So now you can, let's say I wanted to hit that nice pure part. Now I can go to the cutoff. It's a different way of doing things. And you get different results. Instead of it sounding like it's moving like this, you hear it sitting at the bottom longer. And then a lot of that has to do with the waveform that I'm using. I'm using a triangle, which is, I far prefer triangles over a sine wave, because if you look at a sine wave, there is a resting point where it's going to be at a minimum value for a long time. Whereas with a triangle, it's always moving. It's never sitting. As sine wave, it actually has, if you want to do let's get a little bit more into our math class. If we go over here to sine waveform, see how right in this area right here, all of this is in the negative. It's all sitting around that same fundamental value, and then it does this radical change, right? Well, a triangle, it's not allowed to do that. In a triangle, it's going up, and then it's immediately traversing back the other direction. So the default waveform on Korg synthesizers is a triangle waveform. The default waveform in Omnisphere is a sine waveform, and I don't like that. I wish it was a triangle waveform, because the sine waveform, you don't have the ability for it to keep moving. There's a place where it's going to sit at the top of the range and the bottom of the range. If you go here, and you can change the shape of this to be more of a triangle, but see how now I've gotten rid of all this fine resolution here where it's going to sit. So for me, triangle waveforms are king when it comes to LFO shapes, because let's do this back to be a unilateral or bilateral. Find the middle point. See if you can hear the difference, okay? We'll see how your ears are today. So this is a triangle waveform. Hear how it's always moving? Okay, here's the sine waveform. See if you can tell the difference. See how it sits longer at the bottom and the top? In some cases, you might like that, but for me, I'm more of the fan of the... You hear it actually like hit a point and like continue in the other direction. It's... Bing! Right? If you go to a sine wave, you don't hear that. It's up there so long you don't know where the... You don't hear that impact point where it decides to change in the other direction. So that's why we have different waveforms for the LFO. If I choose a square waveform, what this means, it's at one value and then it's immediately at another value. So see if you can tell the difference. Yeah, right? A triangle waveform is sweeping, whereas this, if I go over here, let's take a look at this. We'll give you an LFO class. This is why we have different waveforms for an LFO. We're telling the LFO what we want it to do. Are you sitting there on the knob slowly spinning it? Or if you're in a square wave case, you're going at one value and then you're immediately going to another value. It's up high, immediately down low, back up high. Right? And if you go here to the rate, you can get cool dancing things happening. And then what's fun inside of Unify, unlike most synthesizers, you can actually go in here and make the LFO do like things that you can't do inside of any other synthesizer. I can make this be doing a square and then a triangle in the same cycle and change the curvature of it as well. So this is why we have curvature as well, because if you want it to be immediate drop in value, da-dum, that's giving you that kind of a vibe to do these types of effects. with LFOs. So having this LFO is actually a really incredible secret weapon inside of Unify, because most synthesizers, even Omnisphere doesn't have anything like this. There's very few synthesizers, Serum being one of the exceptions, and one that's actually more flexible than this. With Serum's LFOs, Airwave did an incredible library for Serum. If we want to take a deviation for a second, let's go Serum. Check this out. Serum's LFOs are insane in that they are editable as well, but they are also modulatable. You can right click and you can say modulate with all these different buses and have another LFO modulating that LFO segment. And so Airwave did a library. Let me see if I have access to, how would I get to his user? Airwave, it's called Serum Chaos. Let me see if I have any patches that really show off this feature that he really used this in some of these patches in some really cool ways. Let's see, he's got, we'll just go through it, cycling through this till we see. Okay, here's one where you see how it's changing. This is changing the curvature in real time of the LFOs. So you can get even more carried away with LFOs and where Unify is at. We're not like the ultimate LFO by any stretch of the imagination. But the tools that I wanted for being as flexible without being, you know, Shane only has so many hours of development he's going to do on LFO before he starts speaking Klingon. So I really wanted to have we'd done Pump House, right? And so it was fairly easy to take that concept and put the Pump House kind of shape in here as an LFO. And because of that, now you have the ability to change the shapes, change the curvature, do all sorts of things. Other things that are really, really fun with this LFO since this update is if you go over here and you just set it to Hertz, let's have it do amp. It'll go up to the point where, oh, we broke we broke our effect. Let's see, mute that. It might come back there. Or maybe not. Let's see, turn that off. You can get into some super fast because we go up to 100 Hertz for the LFO speed, which is just crazy for certain effects and stuff like that. Now, say that we wanted to modulate. Let's do a little bit more of a synthesizer programming class. This is kind of fun. Let's say that we wanted to have it so we modulated this rate. I want something. So the key to synthesizer programming, I try to get this into everybody's head. If you find a parameter that does something interesting, ooh, I like that. An LFO is going to take the place of you sitting here going up and down on that knob. All it does. It's not complex. It's not something that should overwhelm anybody. We've all sat at a stereo and played with the treble knob, right? That's all synthesis is. Either it's an LFO where it's repeating a cycle, or it's an envelope where it just does it once and it stops somewhere. So it's not like, you know, people are into the science is in what intensities and what relationship to other waveforms, whether it's being fed into types of filters, that's where the synthesis gets to be more interesting and complex, and changes and sonic new lands can be found if you find something unique to do. But if I wanted to have just the LFO, what if I wanted to play with this? This is not available as a modulation source inside a Guru sampler. The way to do that is to go over here to the little box, the little dot, I should say, and say, move this into a new embedded Unify layer. It's like 3 or 4 steps. You have to go over here and you have to say Unify standard I don't even have it in my list. For some reason, my setup's all messed up. So I'm going to go to built-in. You want to use CC Writer. So select CC Writer. So it's now sitting there. Now, it's not tied to anything. It's just going up and down. It's a TV channel that no TV is turned on to. So go to the macro knobs inside of that Unify layer that you put the patch. Because now that patch, instead of being up here, it's inside of a Unify layer. So now all I want to do is I can open up Guru Sampler. I can click my little ear. Let's say macro 2. So it's flashing. Go to Guru Sampler and change LFO rate. LFO sync rate, boom. And then right click on the sync rate. Actually, you can't right click on there. You just click on the little dot right here and assign that to MIDI CC20 because that's the CC number that CC Writer is sending. And now it's dancing. And now it's changing that LFO speed just as if I was sitting there going up and down like that. Now, I was going up and down and kind of doing different things. So that's where some of the creative fun comes into, like, what shape do you want this to be? Do you want it to be longer in the slow values? Or do you want to be more resolution in the faster values? It gets to a certain speed and it kind of poops out. So what you could do, you could say, well, I noticed it kind of poops out. So like right in here is the cool part. So like more lateral here and then. And then it's repeatable. So that means you would play with your curvatures. Until you find the repeatable pattern that you want. Because whatever you set this to, it's not going to do that until the end of time. And I can change this. Right? Maybe I want the filter cutoff to dance along with this. So all you have to do is open up Guru Sampler again and go over here, hit the ear button. And let's go here to filter cutoff and just move this. And it's been added. No, it didn't. It added rate again. Interesting. Delete that. Maybe because CC Writer is working. I bet you that might be what's going on, is it's picking it up. Shane, we missed that one. If I hit the ear, yeah, it picks up on CC Writer. That might not be unavoidable because it's just sending CC. So what you need to go is go over here and say bypass CC Writer for a moment and then hit the ear and hit cutoff. And now it has a chance to catch cutoff because it's just going to catch whatever it hears first. Now I have filter cutoff combined. So you can get this set to do what you want, and that's all LFOs are doing, is it's allowing you to, and on most synthesizers you have to use the cryptic waveforms and not modify them. Here you have control over curvature. You have all sorts of really cool subtle controls to get the I mean, it can get really, and that's just 2 parameters being changed in the patch. So it can get to be really, really powerful very, very quickly. So there you go, LFOs, and why shape is important, because if everything was just a triangle, then you'd only be able to do something with that specific shape as far as modulation of any parameter. And that's why we have our different waveforms to give us the ability to have different controls. Another LFO shape that's really fun, I showed you a minute ago, was the square. So if we take this, and let's say that we set it to be square again. Right? Well, if we didn't have it do cutoff, let's have it do pitch. And if you double click here and you say 12, that means 12 semitones up, 12 semitones down, and now you have a 2-octave jump. And you can have filter cutoff work at the same time, and even amp. Loud, soft, or soft, loud. No, we don't go negative with amp, so so that's why we have the different waveforms. Right? Like if I move this, I'm going, oh, that's so cool. I want to change filter cutoff nice and slow like that. This is the parameter. It's not available in our mod matrix inside of Guru Sampler. So you go to this layer, go to the little bullet and say, move this into an embedded Unify layer. That way it's now in a layer where there's knobs. The reason to do this is because Unify has knobs assigned to it. So by doing this, we go over here to built-in CC Writer. And instead of doing up and down and like that, I'm just going to have it start and go all the way up and then drop back down because I want to be kind of like a motorcycle gear, right? And CC20 is fine. So if we go over here and we select this and we say assign to MIDI CC20, because this is how you connect CC Writer to this knob. And then you can right click on this and now you choose what you want this value to be changing. And I want to be changing the filter cutoff. So the old school way, click right here, go to Instrument, Guru Sampler, Filter Cutoff. And it's just repeating. And it'll repeat for as long as it's held down. Could I review BPM pad, phaser McShorty? Sure. Okay, let's do that. This is fun. It's fun. I want to do more of these types of things. I've thought about making a video on that you guys could buy that went into even deeper stuff. But let's cover some stuff here and like this. This is very fun. Phaser McShorty. So this is a cool BPM patch. All right, so let's first, I'll give you guys some other tips when you're studying patches, because it's really fun. One of the reasons to buy libraries is to study what other people do and go, oh, I like that effect. I haven't done that effect in my own sounds. And so you look at what they do and then you learn it so you can apply it. It becomes a tool in your head for what you can apply to your sounds. So the first thing to do is go, okay, this is 2 layers and there's an auxiliary effects. Are the auxiliary effects being used? They are. So let's hit solo so we hear just layer 1. Okay. It's just a chord thing, right? And there's a bug in Blue Arp. They have to fix this. But the very first note, if we go here to step type, it's supposed to be a chord. And it always plays just the first note. It doesn't play the chord. And so I've emailed Oleg, but he's probably busy with something else. But after that first note, it's playing chords. And so if I set these to all off, now it's not doing anything. If I set these all to chord, and then the other thing that makes this unique is if you hit the velocity tab, you'll notice I have different velocities. I believe the default is here. But you can have and then what's fun is go here to the step type. This is where you choose whether it's random, which means that now it's going to take the notes that I play and it's going to choose one of them. And if you go between this and chords, you can do some really cool where it's got a cool... It gets solid and it gets repeatable when you have a chord because it's going to play all the notes that you have held down. Then these other notes that are random, or I could set them to what they call the normal, like this. And then what that does is then you go to key select where you have 5 different notes and you can choose what note it's going to use from the notes that you're playing for each of these intervals. So if I have this kind of go up and down like this means it's going to be more of a sequence thing. Let's go like that. So I have these random notes, and then these are the same every time that I play a certain chord. But what the original was I like to do it where I set this timing to 16th notes. So you choose 16th notes, and then just turn on every other one, and now you've made 8th notes, but you still could sneak in a 16th note every now and then just by clicking the random up here. Right? So you can get into fun variations on whether you want random for single notes, whether you want chords, or whether you want normal. Like if I say normal for the last 4, then it's going to look for this key select, let's say from 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to play a 4-note chord. So it's always going to play at the end, because that's set for step type at normal. See, here's your columns for what it's going to do. If you want something to tie, then you tie it in here like this, and I believe that's how you get it to. I don't have it all set up for doing that right now, but you can have it so it plays notes and extends them for a long period of time. Blue Arp is really, really flexible. The one thing it doesn't have, I want to talk to Oleg more about, is it needs a true arpeggiator mode. This up here is an arpeggiator mode when you set it to random. He added this by my request. It used to not have this. But now it's an arpeggiator, but it's only random. You can't say, I want you to play through the steps up and down or just up, or any of the things that a typical arpeggiator has. That doesn't exist. So random is the closest you can get to it being an arpeggiator, where it's just random. On most arpeggiators, you have a random button you can use. But what's unique with Blue Arp is you can have it play a chord, do random, and have it do like predetermined sequences all in the same pattern. Which is really powerful. So that's layer 1. And that's the Blue Arp that's tied to it. And then the second layer is just a pad. And I believe this is going to be the vintage analog, like I told you, the one that has the really thick Juno 60 vibe. And if you wanted to make it more synthesis, move the sample start later and bring down the filter envelope so you don't have any definition. And now it's really Juno. That's like... So this is sitting solid. You'll notice that it doesn't have anything going to this effect chain. So this effect chain is where all the really cool ear candy is happening. That's because this sound, which has this nice splashy attack, is going into a reverb that has a phaser after it. Without the phaser after it, it'd just be sitting there, right? But adding the phaser after this, and then I have pump verb, and then another reverb after that to just give it this ambience to the pumping so it's not so dry and stark, right? That allows it to keep having this kind of space defined to it. So you put that all together. This is a way to think about synthesis where you're doing components. This element is doing this part. This element is doing something very different, but they complement each other. Right? So the two work really well together to have this. The Kumar has just got that really, really cool like sound to it. I just love it. I love it. I love it. So it's really fun to have that, and then it's hitting the reverb that goes into a flanger, which goes into a pump house after it, and you get all this. Hey, Fred. Good to see you. We're doing some synthesis. We're talking synthesis here. So let's look at a couple other ones that were really fun to play with. Whippoorwills in Winter. This one gets very out there. LFOs is where the fun is, because LFOs allow you to change parameters as if it was you doing it without having to do it. So this has phaser going into reverb, which makes the reverb have this nice. It's not the other way around. Check this out. If we reverse the order by just click and drag, it's very different because now this phaser is more prominent. Because now the whole sound is being phased. If you put this before the phaser, this is phasing what comes before it, but it can't phase what comes after it. So the reverb is after the phaser, so that the reverb stays kind of uncolored. See? So that way it doesn't, here's the difference. Like, can you hear how it's got this nice openness? There's some other stuff going on we'll talk about in a minute. But if I reverse this to where the phaser is after it, now you hear the phaser phasing everything, including the reverb. And I didn't want that vibe, so we can flexibly change that. Now, if we turn off these effects, you're going to hear that Unify layer. Let's solo each layer. Let's solo layer 1. Left. Can you see what's changing? Look at the filter cutoff of the LFO. It's sitting. And it comes up just to a point where it starts to be affecting the sound, because it's a dark filtered sound. And because this is on the left and this other one is on the right, you hear that difference in stereo? That's because the LFO here, the phase is at 50, which makes it be offset 180 degrees. So it's like a stereo tremolo. So it's bringing in tremolo and then it's going out. And then you add the phaser, which gives it this bit of motion, and then reverb after that, and you have whippoorwills. Right? And if you go to the keyboards, I did the piano for Morning Bell, which is this beautiful piano from a Radiohead song, and I'll give you guys a bonus patch. Let's make this, let's see. Maybe a little bit of a Dreamweaver vibe. So let's just say load one layer. Actually, no, I can't do it that way because there's a phaser going on that I want in there. So let's say load this into a new Unify layer. Turn it down. But I want it to be moodier, right? Because we got this really cool mood setup. So let's go here to the parameters. Let's say slow on attack, slow release. I'm going to bring up the cutoff for the 1, 2, 3, 4 for the right hand. A little bit brighter. And then we've got on the second page a chorus. Let me see here. Is this is going to, it's not going to all the effects. So one of the things we added to Unify 1.10 is if you go here to the bullets, there's a duplicate links to all layers. Just by doing that, I have now filled it in. Oh, it just added the chorus to this. Let's see, there's something going on with one of the Dreamweaver patches. It's these guys. So let's have them filtered just manually. There. That's pretty cool. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of high pass filtering to the pad because I don't want it to be too because the piano's so boomy. So I'm gonna go over here to Filter Max. I love having an effect right here that I could just say stop at about 100 hertz. Let's call this Nirvana. Okay, guys, I'll name it that. So this is keyboard. We'll put some Z's at it since it's a bonus patch. So we'll say Z key. What does Nirvana mean? R-V-A-N-A. And we'll say, let's see here. Piano and dreamy pad made, pads made in the May 27th live stream. Name, guys, you get credit, my friend. And we'll put a bonus here in the tags. bonus. So we'll go save as save. And I'll put this, let's put this into that file. So you only have to install one file that gets you all the bonus stuff. So let's go over here to Guru Freebies. String Theory. I'm going to option copy it over here. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but if you have a problem with the Guru file, just take it and rename it zip, because it's a zip file. And rename it to a zip and unzip it. And there it is. Oh, I have another folder named libraries on my computer on this desktop, so let me get rid of that. I need to just have it. It has to be named just libraries. It can't be library. Okay, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put this into here because I don't like how Apple's operating system works. This was somewhere on my desktop, but I have so many windows open and stuff. So I can go like that, get rid of this one. So let's go to this patch, reveal in Finder. Here it is. So I'm going to open this library, and you'll notice that this looks exactly like the library. It's got the name of the library. You open it up, it has patches, media files, MIDI files, media. So if we open up, if we just put this into patches, it now lives next to Visit à Paris demo, and that, because that's all we need is just a patch. We didn't add anything else to it. But now I can like take this name, delete this, zip this back up. So we say compress, and then rename, but add Guru, so it's no longer a zip file. And that's the special thing. If you put .guru, then Unify knows it's a file for it. It knows it's supposed to be a zip file. It will unzip, and then it will put things into the locations based on the folder hierarchy. So if this was libraries, yeah, that's all you got to do. So this is now going to go back into our freebies folder. So let's go over here to Dropbox, freebies, Unify libraries. I have to repeat this again if I add a new patch, but that's all right. I'll keep this down here in the up here so you can't see it, but it's there. So here, I'll give you a link just to make sure it's the same link. It should be the same link, but I'm not sure. Oh, no, it's a little bit different link. So let's see, edit. This is the demo, Bob D's demo song, and bonus patches here. And before the end of the sale, I will be adding some more patches to this. I mean, these kind of dreamy sounds. I love how it just kind of like comes in. All right, so there. Bonus patch and demo songs created and synthesis explained a little bit to get you guys into it. So any questions? If you guys have questions, we might cut this a little short. It's such a fun library that I want you guys to all go play with it. Now, if you need things to be faster, like the whippoorwills is kind of slow, so you could go over here, I believe, to the macro knobs, go to the note on attack. See if this gets those to be a little bit quicker. Right. This has a lot of filter growth, so to offset that, just open up the brightness. So you can play with these. Oh, thank you, vendor. Nice. I know, I kind of liked it being more mysterious. But again, if you need it to not be so mysterious, what I would suggest, go to the Unify layer, the #1 layer, go to filter cutoff and bring up brightness. right? So very, very fun stuff. So that is out now. String Theory is available. I will tell you that in a couple of weeks, we're going to be releasing Serene Worlds. That is from Timothy. I don't know if Timothy is here in our chat, but he's someone in the group. He's talked about releasing a library, and we decided to pick it up and release it. It's really nice. Lots of pads and different things that are more... here, I'll shut this for a second. It's got leads, pads, plucky sounds, 300 patches. It's got a lot of stuff. The pads, let's see, where's the pads? Pads. He had pad and pads. I'll probably fix that. It should just be pad. But there's a ton of really cool stuff. Utterly beautiful. These are all samples. If you go to the Touching the Universe website, he has libraries for Omnisphere, I think, and for Contact. Or Contact for sure. So we will be releasing this. It's really, really fun. It's fun to pick up. This is the first library we've released of his, so it's fun. Lots of stuff going on. So this is going to be coming out from me. Expect... let's see. I will let you guys know that there are some drum, rhythm, focused libraries coming. Also, I'm going to be sampling this. This is an acoustic bass. So I'll be sampling my acoustic bass. I have a Fender P bass. I have guitars, guitar alleles. I'm going to be doing some fretted instruments. I want to get into sampling these instruments that I've been picking up. And so I'm not going to be in synthesis as much. Also, there is going to be another String Theory coming out later this year. The people that I bought the Krumar from, how did you control the drums on joystick? I'll show you. That's a good question. I'll show you how to do that, because you can do that with anything. But I bought the Krumar from a couple here in Portland, Garrison and Rochelle. I don't think they're here in the chat right now, but they have a whole bunch. They do a lot of remodeling of instruments and selling, and they bought and modeled up, brought it to really great shape, a Moog Opus, and they have sampled it, and it sounds incredible. And so that will be coming out later this year from them. I'm going to be releasing like that. Any plans for the Vital library? That's another library to work on that I can probably actually get that out in the next couple of months. Yes, definitely. We do have a library for Vital. I want to get some complementary stuff in Unify for it, and there's a lot of knob assignments still to do. There's so many libraries in the works. It's really, really fun. But here, if we go over here to the presets, I can show you some of the patches from the library we've been working on. It's called Critical V. We got the artwork all done for it. I did a lot of the Saif. As you can see, he made a lot of the patches. I think there's like 200 patches. It's a lot of it's Saif at this point. He put a ton of... The one that you see here from Sound Author, that's not in the library. A friend of mine did that, and I was just checking it out. So there's a ton of ideas. I need to clean it up and produce it. It's not done. Something like this is really fun. This has a lot of LFOs going. So, but I have a lot of production work to do for this. So, hey, Gregory, my friend, good to see you. So this is in the works for sure. It's an awful lot of work to get it done. And the sad thing is the second I release it, it's going to be available from somebody on eBay for a couple dollars. So that's one of the reasons why I'm not that thrilled to release anything, because with Unify, I can protect my work. Anything else I make a library for, I can't protect. And it immediately shows up on eBay and VST Hub's websites that are all pirated stuff where you can get Omnisphere for $50 that are all just illegal. And so I'm really hesitant, and I don't like to release libraries for anything else anymore, because if I can't protect my work, it's just lost money. I'm just giving a whole bunch of other people my sounds for free. So it's not something I'm like rushing like I have to get it out. But we will get it out. I keep saying that, and we will work on it. So now Gregory, he lives here in Portland. He has an incredible Atmos room for mixing, and he sold me an unbelievable Genelec subwoofer that is too big for my room that I have right now. But I'm going to be moving in the next couple of years to someplace that can accommodate this thing. It's literally up to my belly button in size. It's just huge. Yeah. So anyway, so there's all sorts of stuff in the works. I recorded a couple years ago a whole bunch of drums in a garage in downtown Portland. Kid-sized drums and paint cans and stuff like that. So yeah, right. I'm more into the pure Unify kind of thing, just because I've actually gotten email from people that crack software saying that because Unify is priced so fairly and they like me, they don't crack it. So they haven't cracked it yet. Anyway, so to show you guys about the drums on Mod Wheel, if you go to a couple of the BPM splits like Slow Car or Oxygen Overdose, the Mod Wheel is set to start playing a groove. And actually, if you go into the actual library, the standard library, I actually made a patch. Let's see if I can find something that has trigger box. I think that there's Mod Wheel play notes. So there is a template, trigger box, Mod Wheel play note. What it is with trigger box, we have, if you click load preset, it has a list of presets. And I'm sorry, our interface, it's not a triangle or something like that, so it's a little bit confusing. It's like it looks like it would open a window. It's actually a pull down list. And as you can see, there's different options for trigger box. We set up so that it gets a note in, and MIDI CC can be triggered, and you can choose what MIDI CC number it is. If I wanted to be my sustain pedal, I could click here and change the sustain pedal to 64. And now when I push down my sustain pedal, it plays my drums. But technically what it's doing is it's sending a note on, because when it passes this test, it then goes to the next step and says, entire notes ignored. But when CC enters the range, and you can determine what the range is, if I had this set at 1, if I had it at 127, my mod, the same control 64, it's 0 or 127, and we don't have 0, or else it would play all the time. But if I change this instead of CC64 to CC1, it's now listening to my mod wheel, and this is my range. In other words, it's not going to start playing until what? If I set it at 1, then the second I move my mod wheel, it's playing. If I set this at a higher value, like say 100, watch, my mod wheel is going to go, let's see. Oh, that's velocity. Velocity curve. I thought that was a note range. It's not. I wish it was just note range. I've had cases where I've had it do this. Gate time. No. But when you move the mod wheel and it sees it, let's just keep it simple. And if you bring down your probability, I guess it's ignoring that, because it's just, anytime I see a CC, it plays a note. So I use this inside of Mega Magic Keys for playing. I don't have Mega Magic Keys in here right now, but inside of the string theory library for the BPM splits, I have it set so that when you move the mod wheel on BPM splits right here, like slow car, huh? Oh, you know what it is? Okay, so here's what it is. So because it's a 0 value or a 127 value, the cutoff, the switch point between off and on is 64. So when you use this type of a parameter to trigger a note, it's once you get above 50%. When you hit 51%, now it's not going to do it. It's supposed to be 50%. I don't know. It's the note triggering section. Note triggering. Yeah. I don't have a triggering section though. Maybe it's, oh, you know what it is? It's probably, no, I didn't set it up there. And it doesn't have anything to do here with, it's right at a value of 100, which for some reason, I thought that this velocity was, but if I set this like 27, it's not any sooner, so. But there's no range settings. Huh. The CC value range. CC value range. It was there. You just skipped over it. It's where you switch CC triggers. Okay, so I'm being slow here. This is playing up here on trigger box. Right under where you set it. Holding class a lot. It's so funny. Oh, CC value range right here. Okay, I'm sorry. I am like showing my seniority these days. So here is your velocity range right here. So I set it to 100. If I set this to a lower range, like if I set it to 1, actually you can set it to 0, but if I set it to 13 or something really low, then it starts right away. I don't know why I didn't see that knob, these parameters, but there they are. So if you set it to 127 or something, then this means that as you move the mod wheel up, it's not doing anything until you get to the top. But whatever you do, make sure that if you have multiple layers triggered, that they all have the same thing. And you can make sure you do that by copy paste. And there's two ways to do it. One way to copy paste is go operations, copy plugin state, and then go to the other one and say operations, paste plugin state. Now, actually in this case, I can do that here because it's actually not here. So if I go over here, plugin, paste plugin state, now it's back to where they both trigger together. Otherwise, one will start triggering, then the other triggers, and then you might not have them in synchronization. But I have an interesting thing happening, and I've showed this to you guys before, but let's cover this really quick, and then we'll call it a day. Let's go to something like Techno Yes, okay? Drum group, right? Yeah, I've noticed that. I'm not sure why that is, Ron. It's crazy. The timing is a little funny. I think that's a blue ARP thing. I'm not sure. But let's say that I want to take this and I want to like separate out the snare to process, right? There's a really cool thing inside of MIDI box where it says include notes or exclude notes right here. And it has a key range. So what we can do is we can say we want to exclude this certain note. Right now it's excluding everything, so nothing plays. And as I bring up the low range, it's a C2, There's the kick. There's the hi-hat. If I bring this down, there's the snare drum. But I want to keep the snare drum out of this, so I'm going to go down here. Actually, I just want the snare drum to be excluded, right? But we can go to include, which means it's going to not include that snare drum because I was able to isolate just that snare drum. And then I can go over here and I can say duplicate this layer. And I go to this MIDI box, and instead of include, I say exclude. So I do the opposite. It's kind of like an invert selection in Photoshop. So here we have this layered one. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Layer one is the kick and the hi-hat. And layer two is the snare. So that means I can have a different send amount to the snare. I could go to Guru Sampler. I could choose a tuning. Anything I want to do. So you can take any of these grooves, and if you need to solo out the parts, if I wanted just the hi-hats, then I could go up here to this part and go back to MIDI box, because this is done in the MIDI file player. Bring it down so I don't hear anything but the kick drum. And then let's say duplicate this to one more layer and solo it. And let's get it so that MIDI box is only playing the hi-hat and not the kick drum. So now I have separated out kick, snare, and hat. And I could say, let's do a new auxiliary bus. And I want it to be auxiliary delay presets, the low pass filter ping pong 8s. And let's put that onto the hi-hats. And I think I made a boo-boo when I made this patch. I think it's offset a little. So if you double click here to set it back at 0. And then let's do this. We got some really cool distortion options. So we could say power curve, just to make the hi-hats have a little bit dirt. And let's go here, because a lot of time on hi-hats, you want to do like the Gary Newman thing. You do that kind of stuff. And just bring it down a little bit so it's just there in the background a little bit. Now, because you do the map like this, I could then go over here to anything I wanted to and say, like, let's add slow car to a new layer. So, and then I want to have this same triggering by note happen, right, for MIDI box. So if you look down here, trigger box is before MIDI box, because trigger box is going to play a note because it's set to send a note on. So I'm going to do, there's two ways I said, right? There's where you go to operations and copy paste. The other way is to hold down Control and Shift and click the bullet. That's copy. So I'm going to go up to the drum groove, which is 3 parts. And I wish we had, but we don't have the ability to copy paste, and it would put the plugin in. That's a lot of work apparently. And we're going to say trigger box, creative, trigger box, and Unify standard, creative, trigger box. And then move these over here in front. So that way they're there, trigger box here. Now hold down to Shift and click each one of these to paste the settings so they're the same as the other drum settings from slow car to, right? Now when I move the mod wheel up, now I get the slow car groove and the tech yes. Then I can control the mix the way I want. And let's say for this snare, I want the reverb to be longer, so go here. And then I need to work over here on the trigger settings. If you notice inside of slow car, let's get this to work. So slow car is set to where the key trigger is only from G1 down. So it's and it's set to manual start and stop. So let's do the, well, I don't know if this is going to work now because we have multiple grooves playing, but if we say manual start and stop, and let's bring this down to G1 so it's the same as the other, and it should, fingers crossed. The important thing when you're doing controls to like play rhythm from the mod wheel, make sure you go over to the trigger page and make sure you set to something like manual start and stop. If I set this to restart, now it needs to be set to C. Oh, and I have to go up here to trigger. What did I do? There. And it's playing G1. I'd have that should still play. Huh. Well, it's still listening to the mod wheel. But now it's when I'm playing notes. Let's see if I go down here. Or you can do it this way. Okay, so as long as this is not in the keyboard range where you're playing, it should be able to keep track. The clock is an important thing to keep track of how it's going to work. And it sometimes is a bit of a black box to me. I just find how it works and go, yeah, that's fine. See how it's re-triggering parts? I don't want it to do that, so you'd have to set this to manual start and stop. So they're on their own groove, and now when I play notes, I'm not restarting the groove. So if you were to do this in a complex setting with another sequencer running and stuff, it might get a little more challenging. We'll have to maybe refine this if we get to that point with Unify, but notice how this is running, so you say stop. So you could do that. Now it won't start and stop, but it's still playing to an internal clock. It just hasn't started a clock that everything else is listening to. How much RAM do I have? I have an Apple Studio that I bought a year and a half ago, and I think it's only got 32 gigabytes of RAM. Unify is not a RAM intensive program. These sound sets are not terribly RAM intensive. Oh, do you want to save that? I'll save it for you. Do you, Tugwit, do you want it with the split and the bass? Let's make this a little bit different sound maybe, so that way it's a little bit more fleshed out. We're going over my 90 minutes I usually do, but that's okay. Let's find this plug sound. Now, this is, oh, well, one of the reasons, someone was talking about, Ron, you were talking about one of the reasons why the DX percussion sounds up here. They start weird and stuff because MIDI box is playing into a trigger box with a super low probability, 2%. So that right there kills a lot of the notes from being allowed to go through. On top of that, Jitterbox is set to, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jitterbox's quantizing abilities, but after you get past the default of 0 to 150 milliseconds, if you click here, I have it set to eighth notes, plus or minus eighth notes. Then you go over here to quantized, like master resolution, and I have it set to only eighth notes. So it can only play an early eighth note, an eighth note, or a late eighth note. So it's randomly, yeah, it does this creep in because it's low percentages. If you go over here to the knobs, let's see here if I get this up so we can see this and go to the knobs. There's probability. This is what MIDI box is doing. It's sending in all the time. But because of trigger box being set to 2%, that means it only lets in 2% of the notes that it sees. So just kind of like, maybe I'll play. I'm only feeling like 2% today, right? That's what gives it that sparse kind of like vibe. And let's go over here to cart. Let me find a couple other different sounds. So this pad is doing this beautiful. Let's find this to be a little bit different. I don't want to make it too different, but let's maybe like give it a BPM thing. So let's go notes, custom shape. If we click here, I have all sorts of presets, including the Radwave presets from the cutting edge Radwave Synth. So I can say, that seems really fast, but if you slow this down, there, just a little bit of energy. Now this is where it gets tricky. See the timing? This is where you need the master clock because I got multiple layers now that need to be following. So let's see if we can get this to work. I have a feature called Latch, which is supposed to make it so that this is synced. Now everybody follows. Yes, it's retriggering the notes and stuff. So it's not doing what I want it to do. So let's see. Let's see. C0. This might be one where I modify, since I'm now getting into a more complex setup. It's one thing when you're just playing a groove and you've got the mod wheel to do this, but what I might do is bypass the trigger boxes and set this up to be latch, because that way you have a note to play. And that way everybody can follow clock because I have the pulse happening there. Turn on the mono latch and then go into Unify's layer for the drums. Bypass here. Set this also to be mono latch, mono latch. And I think I set the top range to just be C for these grooves to start. C, C, C. And then I can hit stop. Or maybe I can't hit stop. Now if we go to latch. Oh, I didn't turn on latch here, so that's the problem. So go here. There. Okay, so now we've got that working, and we can go over here to MIDI quick stop. No, we want to have this set to MIDI latch because we're now using latch. So now it's responding to that. But everybody else still follows clock. How's that? Now, if you want this to be just a drum groove by itself, you want to turn off latch and just click and drag the keyboard range to bring it up. Maybe I'll give that to you guys as well. Let's see here. MIDI start and stop. There. It gets challenging when you have multiple things trying to listen to the clock all at once. It can get a little bit of a challenge to... Okay, why are you not listening? You're supposed to be listening. C1, C1. But now they're backwards. Isn't that funny? Okay, everybody stopped. MIDI latch. Now it works. Huh, but it won't turn it off. How funny. If that's the case, maybe I would do this. This is one of those things where it takes hours sometimes for me to get these all sussed out for you guys. I would go in here, I would get rid of everything else but the drums. And then say off here. Just set it to just play just raw MIDI in. And then use a single latch right here for the drums. So that way it's all controlled. And they still won't stop. How funny. Oh, my bad. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. They are working. So we have the groove here, and then we have all the tonality stuff in the Unify layer below it. Now I'm going to go to the delay, maybe a little bit less. And I want this to be darker. So let's find out where that is. That's here. Let's get this to be a little bit darker, filtered. Better. A bit less delay. Find the right frequency for the hi-hat. And then with different reverb setting, let's do this. Let's use data verb. So right click, say data verb. Okay, there we go. And now the master layer up here can hit stop to stop it. There we go. Oh, but you know what? Okay, here's what I got. So I need to set the top range for all the drums to be C. That way it doesn't get confused. Okay, so now we have... Let's get this bass to be a little bit different. This is doing. Let's have the velocity controlled. Bring up the loudness. The other thing that's fun with this bass is it's going down here into a delay that has phase more after it. Okay, I'm happy with that. That passes the Skippy acid tests. To make sure it works, it's reliable, it's not freaking out. So we'll release it. What should we call it? What should we call it? Hemispheres. Any other ideas and suggestions from the audience? It's called Z BPM split. Best for last. Lemmy Spears. Oh boy, you guys are coming with some good ones. Ah, how about if I combine a couple of these things? Let's call it Sparkle, because there is sparkle in it. Moon Dance. Fun BPM split made at the end of the May 27th. Save as. Save now. Since we've gone this late, let's just keep going, because why stop now? So I'm gonna go to Discord really quick. Let's see here. We're gonna go to Mid Journey and let's say imagine. Oh wait, hashtag imagine. So this is called Sparkle Moon Dance, and A-AR 16.9. All right, let's see what it comes up with. I can't share the image because there's no way to pull this out as a separate tab. I'll show you the results and you guys can help pick which one we should use. And I'll show you how to attach an image to a patch and all that kind of stuff, okay? So I just put in the prompt Sparkle Moon Dance. Oh, ooh, I know what you guys are gonna like. These are all pretty, I mean, if you guys haven't seen this happening, it is just incredible what this program can create just from simple word prompts. I'll show you in a second the results. Here they are. So we go here, we say view in a browser. Let's see. So these were created literally in seconds from Mid-Journey, from the prompt Sparkle Moon Dance. Which one do you guys like? Isn't that amazing? It's just truly mind-boggling. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so tell me 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know why it has words in Kellyanne Dell. It's interesting. Two? I think 2 or 4. What do you think? Because here's, that's like a sun, I guess. Oh, everybody likes 2. Okay, well, the black with that texture for the dress, I can definitely see is really unique, right? So I go back to Discord and I say, okay, I want number 2 up-resed. So we go 1, 2, up-res. And it spits it out. So now it looks like this. And we can say, drag the image to my desktop. I could add let's call this Sparkle Moon. Okay. And this will go into, let's see. So the way that you do images and graphics and stuff. So we go to the Unify folder, right? Let's go to Libraries, String Theory Orchestrator, Media. We want to put this image. It's not the right image size, but it's close enough. It's fine. And so we now have the image up here, Sparkle Moon, right? And we go back to Unify. And we go up here and we copy the name of the patch as it shows up in Unify. Not what it shows up on your desktop, because the name on the desktop could be different. And we go back here and we go back one level to this thing called links. And this is all of the images. Every patch there's one that I found that I need to fix, but every patch is supposed to have artwork assigned to it. So if we go over here and we say paste the name of this thing in Unify with quotes, and then you go over here to the same line and you go images, images, I call it Sparkle Moon, sparklemoon.jpg. Save. Now, when I call up this patch inside of Unify, it doesn't have the image assigned to it. So I got something. Oh, it's PNG. I forgot the PNG. So go back to the text editor. It's not a JPEG. It's a PNG. So we go PNG. Save. Close. Let's try that again. Reloads. And boom. So now the image is in with the patch. So to get this to you guys, I have to go in and mirror that to here. So let's go over to Libraries and get back to the Unify Libraries folder, Libraries, String Theory, Media. So I'm going to go over here to Media. Links, we've updated that. So we drag over here and we replace. So it's got the updated Media. Images, we want to go Sparkle Moon and copy that into the Images folder. And then we need to get the patch from the Patches folder. Did I put a Z? I did. Okay, ZBPM split Sparkle Moon and the Ave Rihanna. I think I have that already, but let's go like this and paste. And yeah, we have it there already. So we say replace. So everything is in place. That will give you 4 new patches with graphics that were made inside in seconds. Isn't that incredible? I mean, people talk about AI and how powerful it is, and you can see it truly is pretty astounding. So let's compress the libraries folder. I need to go to Dropbox. And we're just at the beginning of this. I mean, I just got the beta version of, some of you guys like 4 and 2. Well, the proponents was 2, so we went with 2. I hope that's all right. So we go over here to Unify freebies, Unify full. This is for. Oh wait, that's not Unify Library. I need to be freebies, Unify Libraries, String Theory Orchestrator. Okay, so this is now going to be called a different name because we have this whole bunch of other stuff. So this has the demo song and 2 additional patches. So this is String Theory Bonus version 00 because it's the first version. There'll be other versions. Oh wait, one last thing I got to do. Let me undo that. Do this together, and that is to not make it a zip file anymore, but it's now a .guru file. Yes, we want to use .guru. All right, here you go. So copy that link, paste, and let me update the text here. Download Bob. There. Save. So all you have to do is drag that .guru file over Unify's interface. You have to own the string theories library, and of course you have to own Unify. But if you have those, you will have any Nirvana, right? And then you have Sparkle Moondance. And low C triggers the groove. Right? And then you have the demo songs. Just play middle C when you load up one of these. And it takes off playing a demo song. All right? And you also have the remix where I did a little bit more work to the bass. I wanted it to not be quite so high. Right? So you have both versions to play with. All right, let's call it a day and a half. Shout out from Portland, Oregon. It's sunny. I'm going to go for a walk with my dog. Maybe we'll go to the park, something like that, have some fun. Hey, Jeff in San Francisco. Good to see you. Oh, good. Glad you guys dug the live stream. Yeah, I went a little bit deeper into the programming. I just want to, share what some of the paths that I went down when I was programming it and stuff like that. Hope that was helpful. Good to see you, Bob. Thank you for the demo Bob did. It's very nice. Very nice demo. Very fun. Cologne, Boston, Chattanooga. Wow, it's getting late in Cologne. Oh, it's not that late, like 11. Guys in France. And this, again, you click, you see the artwork. It's not exactly Paris because there is no park quite like that, but there should be. It's really, really cool. If you go to any other patches, by the way, like the Krumar patches and call those up, there is artwork for them that are photographs I took of my Krumar, so you can enjoy those along the way. Very, very fun. Sacramento Vetter, good to see you, my friend. Robo out in the island of Long, West Overshoot. Good to see you all. Okay, have a great week. Thank you, Taylor, for being here. And as you can see, Unify support at pluginguru.com. If you have any questions, Taylor and myself, mainly Taylor, is there to just rock the boat and help you guys out. Appreciate Taylor very much. Yay, Taylor. Thank you. And all of you, thank you. Thank you for your business, your support. And I see you next week. I think there's 2 live streams I can do. I'm about to take off on a little adventure. I'm going to be driving to the middle of the United States to Santa Fe, New Mexico, for my birthday in the middle of June. So I will be gone for 1 or 2 live streams. I think I'm taking close to 2 weeks off. But anyway, that's not yet. So we'll see you next week. Okay. All right. Be well. Thanks again for hanging. It's good to see all of you, and we'll see you in the next video. Okay. Bye, everybody. Bye.